boys laughing at me.
Ladies and gents, what we're trying to bet on at the moment is how long it's going to take Robbie to knock that microphone over.
Yes.
I've given it 30 to 40 seconds, or the first round, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll sit back and you guys talk for the first little while, and I'll see if I can get through the first 30 seconds. Yeah. I do not have good form when it comes to this shit, do I? No is the answer. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic evening. We're coming to you live and uninterrupted here in the Gold Coast, myself and Dane. So, yes, Dane and Dan. Fuck, I feel like a bloody parent. Dane, Dan, Damo, Dave, Jane, fucking Huey, Dewey, Louie, you name it, right? Yeah. And 2 minutes. Thank you, Anthony. I do, mate. Anthony, did you know I do my best work in 2 minutes? I'll have you know. So I'll see how that all bloody pans out. Let's just keep that between you and I, by the way. No one else needs to know what I just said then. So I hope you're having a great night wherever you're listening from. Dan, you're joining us from the lovely Brisbane. Have you had any storms come through there this Savo, mate?
No, I had like 30 seconds of rain, so pretty dry out back, to be perfectly honest, mate. A little sprinkle to take the humidity out, which is fine.
Present Damo's in the house.
Lauren knows.
Mate, yes. What I mean by that, Ben, just so we're all on the same page, Shawnee Thomas, as he comes in as well, I can tell a good joke in 2 minutes. That's what I'm talking about. So that's where I do my best work, and I try and keep people reasonably entertained. And as a lot of you have also experienced, I can go for a rant for about 2 minutes. So that's what I mean by doing my best work in 2 minutes, for anyone that just wanted a little bit of clarification. All righty. Hey, I'm a bit excited tonight because I wasn't here last fortnight.
No,
I was MIA.
It's been like an entire month since you blessed the internet, mate.
What did you do last fortnight?
I feel like I'm saying sorry, but most people are like, thank fuck. Because now my kids won't have to worry about, well, I've already sworn. Now my kids last week weren't asking bloody, why is that man on the internet is bloody swearing so much? So, yeah.
Me too.
Yes, Michelle, I appreciate it, mate. I can tell a joke in less than 2 minutes as well. Mate, you know what? Can I just give me a second? Excuse me. Stand back. Let me go through my bloody calendar. Oh, you know what? Tamara and I were at the opening of a brand new Persian restaurant here on the Gold Coast called Shiraz. I'm a bit of a history buff. Not really. But I learned, I'm like, where the fuck is Persia, by the way? So I had to look it up. I didn't realize that Persia is the old name for Iran. And then I nearly fucking walked out. But the food was too good, so I didn't. So it was good. It was actually really, really nice.
Persian is quite good from a tucker perspective, mate. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And trust me, I know tucker. That's probably one of my superpowers. I know food. I can guarantee you I like to eat it. So
you sounded real Aussie then. Bloody, that's not too bad for Tucker.
Yes, he's an eater by trade.
So that's all good.
Mickey Gawalski, my man, love your energy. Fuck, there is a name from the past. Let me tell you a story, actually, Mick. Did you know I spoke to the wonderful Jody and Joel? So, Mick, you and I have known each other for like 7 years or so. I remember talking to you and your missus and back in the day in the life BA, in the year before Axon. And I had a wonderful opportunity to find a property for a couple called Jody and Joel, and they just signed their third success package tonight because they're now buying their third property with me. And I was saying to Damo, who's present in the group here, I sat with Jody and Joel like 7 years ago. They're the most longest standing active clients I've got, and I've got to say, like, it's an Axon turns 5 in February next year, so we're fucking getting there eventually. So, so Dan, you'll certainly have this feeling of talking to someone from 7 years ago in another few years as well. I can't pass on how satisfying and inspiring and just gratifying it is that I've met such amazing people that are willing to put their trust and confidence in me as an individual, even though I wear a different shirt now. That, 7 years later, they're still looking to me as their property coach going, what's next? How do we make this work? What do we focus on? Et cetera, et cetera. So, I was going to tell that story anyway, Mick, but they were your ilk, buddy, if I can use that term, of back in the day. So, thanks for joining us. And I appreciate you for following me all these years, mate, and putting up with my rants and putting up with my swearing. But, if you say you love my energy, then that's a good thing as well, brother. Yeah.
Mate, to be honest, I'm looking forward to those opportunities as sort of our Axon clients become a little bit more established in their portfolios as well. Because even now, when I get my clients that have come through from 2-3 years ago and they've got their first properties under their belt or their second, and we sit there and we go, all right, well, let's go and speak to Deb. Let's go get some valuations done. Let's go and restructure this. Let's see what the art of the possible is. You can see in a lot of instances when those returns come back from Deb or the rents have gone up and the value's gone up, and what was written on the Cocoa Pot box actually came true. Yeah. They're sitting there going, wow, this thing actually works. And like that's only over like a space of 2 to 3 years. I can only just start to feel now because like to be perfectly honest, ladies and gents, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I too was a skeptic. I'm like, how can this really work, right? But now it's just starting to get to a point in my portfolio where I'm like, wow, look at that thing over there. It's nearly doubled in value. That's pretty fucking good. Why don't I just go and get all the equity, or why don't I just go and do another one of those things over there? And I mean, it's going to be really, really satisfying to see all those people that come through in like 7-8 years after Axon's first started and be like, holy shit, boys, maybe we are on our track to achieve our goals here. Maybe this thing will come true.
And to be fair, lots of girls as well.
Absolutely. There will be like probably 50% of the population, I think, will be females at that point as well. So I think it'll be a very exciting time for a lot of those people that are sort of rolling through there. But Cadsy, Shane Cadden, how about that? Mate, I reckon there is just a bunch of the people who are normally lurkers in the background have finally turned up tonight.
Good on you, mate. That's good.
Great to see some good chat.
And I've got to apologise. When you were talking, I had a little chuckle, and Nicky Otto said a 2-minute rant and the other 10. So I just saw that then, and I had a chuckle halfway through your little spiel there, mate. So
that's all good, buddy. So,
all righty. Hey, Dane, what have you been up to this week, brother? Like I for those that don't know, this man, he's in the top right-hand portion of my screen anyway.
The dude in the white shirt. The only guy in the white shirt tonight.
I'm trying to point at the name part there.
It's only fucking Wednesday and he doesn't have any more black shirts left. Mate, you continue to bring an energy and a passion and a knowledge base and a determination to get the very best for every single one of not just your clients, but all of Axon clients. And like you're on the weekend looking at estates and looking at seeing how we get blocks, and like you're on the hunt all the time like I've fucking never seen before. And it's so good to see, man. And you know, I just want to say in a sort of public forum here, I've given you plenty of pats on the bums and bloody kisses on the ear. But you know, it's fucking great to see what you were doing for everybody, man. So yeah, and certainly anyone in the chat here that's had some dealings with Dane will be able to echo exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, how are you tracking over the last couple of weeks, mate?
Mate, it's been an interesting one. I think it's kind of coming into Christmas, but I've sort of like taken my foot off the pedal, figuratively speaking.
You can't say that after my intro.
With let me finish. With coaching. So like I kind of sort of just sort of moved my attention into a few other sort of avenues. We run at Axon as well, a lot of research and sort of lot selections and so on and so forth, which is good. So I guess kind of going from, you know, let's be honest, it's a different pace when you're doing that, when you're doing something, when you're having someone who you vibe with and you're sort of getting all that to going like, oh, cool. And then over here just going tush, 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 and just smashing through lots of sort of content. Yeah. But I enjoy it as well because I just know that in the end, without a good location, then we can fucking talk all the shit in the world about people coming back 8 years after and all that sort of stuff. But if the location's a dud and we haven't done our due diligence, then they're not going to be coming back. So all that time and effort and due diligence, like you said, Robbie, that we put into that is beneficial in the way because the clients do benefit from it. Because in the end, when they go, oh, yeah, sweet, I see the facts and the figures and the numbers and the growth and all that sort of stuff, it's a no-brainer. I want to put my money there. And we've had one that sort of has gone out. We've still got the recording to come, but I've had great sort of feedback from people saying, man, when I see all the stats and the numbers and I look at all the stuff that's going on there, how do we get in there, you know, yesterday? And I'm just like, it's all good, man. This is just a part of the process. Like, we need to move through here at confidence, you know, and do you feel confident in the area? Because I know we are, but this is why I want to bring you in. So it's really important. It's a really important stage in your journey as you move through it because location is key. It's absolutely fucking key. So I kind of like as we sort of move into this back end of the year, Dan, with coaching, because as we're coming in and we do have a bit of a stand down at Axon, just like the military, right, where we fucking close shop
BRL, mate.
for a few weeks. Yeah. So I see it's a great time to go through and actually do our checks and balances in that area. So we hit next year with new content, new data, stuff that's all up to date. So when we go into 2022, everyone's like, oh, yeah, sweet. Fuck, that thing only got announced a month ago, and the boys are already onto it. And this is what it's going to generate. This is all the jobs that's going to happen from it and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So it is important, man. And that's where I've been.
Mate, it's so good. Like everyone knows from my previous world as a commando officer, there was a saying anyway in my world that says intelligence drives operations, i.e. is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the risk worth going out there at night to fucking do an insurgent, to go and chase something and you don't want it to be a dry hole, or you don't want it to be a fucking, 200 strong fucking FOB that you're not expecting anyway, 20 dudes there. So it's got to be really, really critical that you try and, so just go fucking, let's go intelligence 101. You get lots and lots of different information sources. And Dan, your wife should be on here giving this lecture, by the way, but I know enough about it that I can sort of, give a layman's terms understanding. You get lots and lots of different information sources. There you go. That information sources needs to be assessed on its accuracy and the source where it come from. It then needs to be fused and corroborated. And that fusing and corroboration, Dane, what you're doing right now is then turning all that information, raw information, into the so what, which is the intelligence report, i.e. what we call the research report. Intelligence drives operations. Guess what? What you just said then is research drives property selection. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's not it's the property that goes up in value, but it's the region that goes up in value. So if the region goes up by 10%, your $450,000 property goes up by $45,000. Your $700,000 property in the same location goes up by $70,000. It's not like it's not really, really based on the individual house that much anyway. Unless it's got fucking, really, really specced up, maybe a pool out the back, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's really important that we get, and, everyone that's my client anyway, as we're going through the Axon business model, I'm like, yep, you do your success package, you do your process brief, you do your risk briefs, they're information briefs, you do your research brief, that's a decision brief. Anyone who's like sergeant above and like right now, you know that when you're giving your boss a decision brief, it's not noted. It's agree, disagree, please discuss down the bottom. That's how it used to be, right? And you guys need to agree or disagree, yes or no. You're going to now go and like, yep, fucking sign me up for that bloody location. Go find me an awesome property, boys, in accordance with my price point and, wants and desires as far as that property goes, be it your own home or an investment property. So whilst I said to you this morning, Dane, it could be seen as a bit of a thankless task, and certainly James, who's one of the guys now who works in the business, he'll 5 or 6 bloody points then, I think, as an ex-int operator himself, can be seen as a fucking thankless task. And certainly the first person that we used to go and blame when we go and risk and go into a fucking dry hole was the fucking int dudes. Why the fuck did you send us there? There's no one there. There's fucking no one there. Boom, 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 boom. But sure as shit, as soon as we were on the ground, we were relying on the ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, fucking assets above us there to keep us all alive. So it's a bit of a thankless task there, Dane, but something that I take extremely seriously on this call, because you are 100% right. If Jody and Joel had not have bought in the right locations based off coaching and planning, and their property, their portfolio had gone up in value, why the fuck would they ring me? Because if something ain't fucking working, you don't want more of that. But if something is working, they're like, give me some more, baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a really, really important task, brother. So I want to put in a public sense here, your diligence and your research and your perseverance to not stop at what anyone can just find on the internet. You dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and find the stuff that no one else will come up with, because that's what provides the most value. And ultimately, the people that are listening right now and the people that watch those videos that you produce and the reports that you and the marketing team provide, they're the ultimate judges as far as that goes. And you're absolutely spot on. Everyone that I've spoken to and everyone that Damo's spoken to and James and Adam, they're like, fuck, these research reports are gold. They've got graphs, they've got the stats, they've got the research, they've got the infrastructure, they've got the potential, because ultimately people need to go, I now want to go and spend my money in that location. I know the boys and girls at Axon are going to take care of everything for me. So it's really, really cool, mate.
I think too, man. And as much as I love the praise, I fucking love it, obviously. Great, mate. But I'm also going to give a little cheeky shout, obviously, to Dan, man, because when I sort of came into the business, Dan was the one that was running with that. But obviously, his time capacity and space is very much absorbed with operational side of the business now to make sure it's all seamless as it flows through. So sort of slotting in under his tutelage a bit there is really, really good. So bit of a public shout out for you, Dan, mate.
No, mate, it's, we're 15 minutes in, and pretty much it's been a Robbie praising Dane show tonight, which, mate, is all really, really good info. I suppose one's from Cadsy there, though. Wish you blokes were around 10 years ago when I invested with QPS. So I think QPS is still kicking around as well, Cadsy. As a company, I think they're just around the corner from me up here in Brizzy. I saw one of their shops.
Oh, the old infamous fucking QPS. Didn't they have a bloody ad in the army rag saying where's someone? Like a where's Wally? It was where's fucking what's his name? Someone help me out. Someone help me out. Remember?
Pretty cool story though. Thanks for that.
No, shut up, motherfucker. I'm telling you, he was in the army rag anyway. Like, yeah, good old mate. You're standing next to a fucking sign on the side of the road and you, I don't know, got a fucking Macca's. Where's Rick? There you go. Fucking boom. Thank you, cats. Where's Rick? He knows what I'm talking about. Sorry, Dan, I jumped in on your story.
Mate, must have been a generation ago, mate, for all that stuff to be coming out. So that's all right. I know that you and Cadsy are both from a year yonder, obviously, from that perspective as well. So that's brilliant. Anyway, what about you, Mr. Turner? What's been going on in your life,
mate? For the last couple of weeks, really, what have I coached? 1, 2. Fuck, I had a quiet week last week because we had what do we had? We had a
Melbourne Cup. Step 1.
Yeah, Melbourne Cup on Tuesday. So Wednesday was a write-off. Then I had fucking Simo's boat party on Saturday. So Monday was a write-off. So yeah, I've had a put it this way, the silly season here on the Gold Coast, and Tammy and I, as double income, no kids, couples that have lived a fucking rather social life here, have plenty on, put it that way, from a social sense. So, mate, last week, for instance, I only coached one client, Paige and Harrison, fucking superstars, young Navy couple down in Sydney, living in a bloody awesome apartment down there. They got some money, behind themselves from really, really great money habits. And they want to basically fuck it. I coach them. They're like, let's just do 2 at the same time. Wants to have a child in a couple of years' time, et cetera, et cetera. So, it was really, really awesome just to have that opportunity. What did you say? Because as you know, fellas, I don't really coach that many brand new clients, especially like a brand new number 1 coaching session. Dane, what did you say to me in the morning? I said, I'm really looking forward to it tonight. I got a coaching number 1. What did you say?
I said, did you want me to send you the link for the template for the coaching number 1?
He's like, we've updated it, mate. We updated it a few months ago. You might not know how it all works. So that was a little bit cheeky, but mate, this week especially has been really busy. So I've spoken to Georgia and Jesse. They're gonna get a borrowing capacity done for their 3rd property. Dan and Olivia, doing their 2nd property. Spoken about Jody and Joel, and then I'm gonna have a chat with Robbo and Megs after this, just to sort of clarify a few things from a finance perspective. So yeah, it's a I don't use the term busy. It's a super productive time, noting we're in the run up to sort of, downtime and Christmas and New Year, et cetera. So the level of interest and the level of inquiry and, all that sort of stuff from my perspective has not stopped one little bit. Because unless you guys have had your fucking head in the sand in the last bloody few months anyway, everyone down south that's been smashed from a COVID restrictions perspective, I bet they can't wait. And all the economic signs are going to have, as soon as the borders open here in Queensland, don't get me wrong, on the 17th of December, it's not going to be like the Boxing Day sale at Myer. There's not going to be fucking 10,000 people lined up fucking shoulder to shoulder on the border fucking come rushing in. But over the next couple of days and weeks after that, you watch them all move up here to Queensland, and I'm actually a little bit scared about what's going to go on from a bloody supply and demand perspective, because down there, even Georgia and Jesse I was talking to yesterday, their 2 houses they have with us, I think one was 450, now worth 530. The other one was 500, now worth 650. And now they're on the way to the 3rd. Those 2 houses are worth 900 each down in Canberra. And so, the value for money perspective is shit house. but how people see how what an item costs down south compared to how cheap it is up here. Oh, man, for those of you that have taken the plunge and got a property under your belt in Queensland already, fucking bravo to all of us, because we're all going to benefit from that in the coming months. So that's what I'm really, really looking forward to.
Yeah. I know you say there won't be 10,000 people like it's a Maya sale, but I can guarantee you I'm going nowhere near that border for the days after the 17th. Because I reckon, like, Dane, you do the border run occasionally, but I reckon you're not even keen to bloody be shooting down there because there's going to be that many fucking people chomping at the bit to get over the border. It's not funny.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they still have a fucking border checkpoint. Like with the shit that I have to go through every second Monday. Yeah. There's a good shout out there from Huey Allen as well. G'day team. Sorry I'm late to the party. Just want to say how impressed we have been with the Axon team in particular over the last couple of weeks for certain reasons. There is no doubt about you. You're always 10 steps ahead. Shout out to Hayley as well. Yes, mate. She is an absolute superstar. She has the blessing of the three of us. We are very fortunate to have her on our team. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Huey. I really appreciate that feedback, mate. And a shout out to you, brother, because let me just check.
Is that next week?
On Wednesday next week, mate, unless you're going to fucking pull out, we are talking to you on a podcast because you're a veteran now, brother, and you don't have to worry about the bullshit rules about not being able to speak in a public forum while you got a uniform on. So, mate, we're really looking forward for you and Kel to come down and tell your story. Don't ask us to send you a brief about what we're going to talk about because I don't know. But what I do know is that it'll be fucking fun. And any question we ask you won't put you on the spot, and you will know exactly how to sort of respond to it. And myself and the board, myself. I think
it's me and you, man. I think me and
you and Dane, mate. That'll be, mate. There'll be a good session for you fellas. You won't have me dragging you back. It'll be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. The Deadwood's gone.
We've actually got 3 podcasts we're recording next week. We've got PTSD Dog's going to come and do one via online on Zoom.
Yeah.
We've got. Let me just open it up. Mickey Lorigan coming in from 214 Coffee. Fuck, we got some of their coffee the other day. Soph, I don't know if you can find this in time, but please go ahead and share that Axon special bloody code. 214 Coffee.
That'll only be available to people inside the elite group, mate.
Oh, it will be too. I apologise. So those people in the elite group, go ahead and use the code. But if those want to look up 214 Coffee, get around it. It's a bloody veteran brand. I put young Mick through Duntroon many, many years ago. But yeah, it's bloody awesome. We're going to have him come in, and then we've got Huey Allen. So 3 more awesome podcast episodes coming your way, ladies and gents. And certainly the last couple of podcasts was myself and H. Well, myself and a couple of others, Simo and Adam with H. And then we just had the one drop over the weekend with Renee as well. So that's, mate, if you guys get a chance to listen to that podcast with Renee, then do yourself a favor. It was very, very cool.
Look at this. Sophie, onto it. Got the links up, everything like that. She's
well done, Sophie. Thanks very much, mate. Bloody excellent. Yes, Benny Hinton, what a plug, mate. Like, I'm not a coffee snob. But fuck, when I did this bloody coffee the other day, I'll show you. It's on my fucking phone here. Let me do this. You guys talk for a second. I'll be back.
I don't even know what he's going on about there.
I do. Here we go.
There you go. Angie Paradise has joined us. Great to see you, buddy.
Here we go. Look at this.
What are we doing?
I don't even know what we're doing.
Liquid gold.
We're making a coffee machine, mate.
This is
what? Fucking,
this is riveting.
What enthralling entertainment.
Look at it. That's sensational.
All right. Not that great plug. One thing actually, and Dan, I know you've been very busy and you'll probably be able to apply a fair bit of knowledge to this question. I'm going to throw a question out. Let's talk about valuations, lads.
Oh,
let's actually talk about that. Drumming in. We've talked shit for 30 minutes, which is great. So let's throw that forward and let's have a bit of a chat on that and what our sort of take is on vals, bank valuations leading into getting your finance approval before then you move through and settle on your block and then build your house. So, Dan, with vals, because you put into a very good perspective actually the other day when the three of us were chewing the fat. What's your sort of take on it, mate? You know, like especially in a time of of things moving rapidly, like we spoke about some areas in the southeast Queensland region going up 7% in a quarter, and pretty good saying. And we sort of were discussing it the other day is when we talk about values, a valuer is always looking at the past, because when a valuer is looking at your plot of land and looking at your build and saying, oh yeah, what do I think this is worth? I'm going to turn to the stuff that's already settled. And to me, that's stuff that's already passed, right? So we're looking at past ops. Then you have your real estate agent who's kind of looking at right here and now what they can get. But as a property investor, I'm sure you guys would agree, you're looking at the future. And that's why we look at those economic drivers and those things to make sure that when we move through that, if you go, hey, look, the val's short $10,000 on the land or what, mate, you're going to fucking laugh at 10 grand later on down the track if your property's going up 200. You know what I mean? Because when you go into that, it's a very opinion-based dynamic when we do step into that realm, which isn't a clear science for people. Because in the end, valuers are people just like the three of us, and they got different opinions. They went to different fucking universities. They have different takes on what things are, and they have preconceptions on ideas and so on and so forth in areas. So give me a Soldier's 5, Dan.
Yeah, valuations are always a really, really interesting thing. And I think I kind of see valuations, depending on the day of the week, I see them slightly differently, I suppose. As you sort of alluded to, mate, like over the last 12 months, if you read the media, they've basically said, hey, 20% capital growth in the right markets over the last 12 months, right? Which effectively goes ahead and equates out to about 5% growth per quarter, just balancing it out there. So if you've got the valuer, when they grab their comparative sales for the area, and they've got to grab generally 4 to 5 comparative sales to compare the property against, they're looking backwards and they're looking at properties from 3 to 6 months ago. They're looking at shit that's at least 5% behind what the market is at the moment. And if you're looking backwards, just get my little cheeky calculator up on the screen here, even if it's a $500,000 house, that's a $25,000 difference in the valuation. Now, for those of you who are coming in and you're bringing in a 10% deposit because you're sneaking in there and just going, I've got enough money, I'm entering the market as soon as I possibly can to give myself the very best chance of success and get in nice and early. Like that $25,000 valuation shortfall is enough to completely derail your plan, right? So the valuation is absolutely important from that perspective. However, if you're someone who is maybe further down the track from a portfolio perspective, and rather than being at a 90% loan to value ratio, let's say you're down and you're running at about a 65% loan to value ratio, the valuation may be less important to you compared to other elements of lending, like your serviceability with a specific lender. Because you might be able to accept that $25,000 shortfall that I just spoke about, but if that specific lender who gave you a $25,000 shortfall allows you to borrow an extra $150,000, you're going to go to that lender anyway because it allows you to continue to progress on your journey. So the power of evaluation really changes as you go through your property journey. Right at the beginning, you might be very beholden to getting the very best valuation that you possibly can to get you into the market. But as you go further on down the track, the priority of the valuation, in my opinion, starts to slip further and further down, and you start to think of things like the right banks with the right policy and the reason that you go to that lender to enable you to continue on your journey. When you're in a consolidation phase, like rates will be a big one, especially when you go in a consolidation phase, because you'll hopefully have enough equity in your portfolio. The vals just all stack up and they're super low loan to value ratios. The debt doesn't change. It's literally just the loan to value ratio changes from that perspective from evaluation. And that allows you then to have the greatest flexibility on rates. So I love valuers mostly because my best mate is a valuer. So I kind of have to say that at times, but it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with the processes they have to follow, but it is a process that they have to follow, and their injection as an individual also weighs into that stuff as well. So what about you, RP? What have you seen of late?
For people that put an EOI down and then have to wait more than 6 months for the land to register, we're not having any issues with valuations, are we? because they locked the price in back then. And then by the time the valuation comes along, that's all fine. But I guess, some of the more recent ones whereby EOI's gone in and like, boom, we're trying to get the finance approved straight away. The point that you made before, Dane, is that sure, you've just locked down your price in today's prices, but the valuers have to look at the sales that happened 3 months ago. It might be a little bit short. So, I guess it's a money moving sideways thing. So I agree with both of you there. But the thing that resonates with me the most is this. If you have to borrow less, so say you need to just put in a little bit extra money, you're borrowing less. So it's like money moving sideways. Ultimately, when you're borrowing less money, you're exposing yourself to less risk, and you pay that asset off quicker because you're going to have to pay a whole lot less interest on that property. So it's a really, really good sort of exercise to go through as well. Is that what's the longer term impact on this going to be? Borrow more money and then tip less in, but then you might be paying twice the amount of interest that you would have had to tip in anyway. So there's always longer and longer term and deeper conversations that need to be had to make sure the circumstances fit whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
I think another one that I really find quite interesting, and I think that one of the reasons why it's popped up on my radar, Robbie, because I think one of your clients at the moment is going through, and we sort of gained access to quite a boutique little, development. Really, I think probably is it about 40 lots, Dan?
Yeah, well, it's slightly bigger than that. Yeah, probably close.
We just finished running through the research data of it and getting that all pictured and pieced together. And one of the things that really stood out to me there is how low the turnover of properties are in the area, because the area. And it's sort of funny when we talk about, it's not always just, like this area, we're going to get in there and fucking get your money in there. You just got to get something because it's going skyrocketing. It's quite an older traditional area. So people who are there have been there for a long, long time. There's not a high transient of people buying and selling it and sort of that. So for a valuer who sees a 4-bed, 2-bath, brand new property suddenly coming to market in quite a gentrified area, it's hard then for them because they turn and go, oh, fuck, it's 3-bed, 1-bath, asbestos, Queenslanders around the area that are on the waterfront. So what am I sort of doing there? So you'll find too, the area can also have a large dependency on what they look at because they are looking for something to compare it with, But
there isn't nothing to compare it against.
Goes, oh yeah, sweet. Like we've had a correction. We turned this out. If it went down, I'm not saying it is, but imagine if it did. Who do you reckon they're going to turn to? They turn to the valuer. They say, well, you valued it, Mr. Option, at X amount of dollars. So how the fuck? And because he's going to go like, oh, well, all there was is a 3-bed bloody tent down the street at the time, like because the place is 150 years old. This area, like, there's no developments in here. It was a, so I think that drives a lot of it as well. When you do go into those boutique sort of areas and you're able to snag a lot, and let's be honest, they're very few and far between. Like you said, Robbie, like a lot of the time we're able to put an EOI in. We're about 6 months out from that. By the time there, like we just had one of my guys who had a $40,000 overval. Like laughing.
He's
done sweet fuck all.
Yeah.
Nice.
like using that example, Dane. So Deb's just been doing some reworks for one of my clients as well. And she went out to 3 different lenders to be like, go out, do the valuations. This client obviously aligns with the policy of those 3 banks. So it's like, all right, let's go shopping effectively and see what's what. So she comes back with 3 valuations. Valuation number 1, 640,000. Valuation number 2, 700,000. Valuation number 3, 620,000. Same house. $80,000 difference. And it's like, it's not as though valuer 1 went out there 6 months ago, valuation number 3 goes out there today. Like, they're literally within hours of each other looking at exactly the same property, looking at exactly the same comparative sales that are available on RP data, and yet somehow there's a fucking $80,000 difference. And I mean, 80,000 divided by 80,000 on a $700,000 property, that's like an 11.5% delta.
Yeah. Massively.
That's a big disparity to be able to get out there. Those like 10% growth, which is fucking massive.
Yeah.
Dano's thrown up a question there, Dan. I think.
Let's throw that up.
Hey guys, not sure if this is on the agenda. There's nothing on the agenda, Jano. We just talk until we get to 7:30 and then we drop off pretty much. But should we talk about the insurable values of properties now that they have had experienced exponential growth? Dan, what do you reckon?
Yes, we should talk about it, Jane. But more than that, we should absolutely speak about that. No, I mean, it's one of those things when you go and do your insurance, it's the insured value on the property, right? And if the cost of replacement for your house, which 12 months ago got built for $280,000, if it now costs $350,000 to build, your insurable value or the replacement value for the house needs to go up by that $70,000.
Yep.
At the end of the day. I mean, that's just the way the industry is at the moment. Because I'm sure, ladies and gents, even though you don't want to spend an extra fucking $85 per annum on your insurance premium, if your house burns down, I can guarantee you that you would prefer to have paid that $80 a year rather than having to pony up an extra $80,000 to get a completed house again at the back end.
And it's tax deductible if it's an investment as well.
It's tax deductible. Dane's always about the tax deductible items, mate. It's tax deductible. It's $40.
But you'd find it surprising though, Robbie. I think you and I, we turn and draw off to each other about it. Like you go through and you sacrifice and you go without stuff and you save this deposit, you do all this hard work, then you get an asset worth fucking like nothing you would ever touch before that, and then you squirm about the premium.
Yeah.
You start nickel and diming. I never get it. I'm like, whenever I go through my coaching, we do like the micro timeline I talk about. So just remember when we go to insurances, we need to insure the value of the asset. I don't want to hear about like, budget direct, $5 more, $5 less, and I'm only going to insure it for $250,000. I'm like, well, you can't fucking build it for that, mate. So if you do have something go wrong, where's the extra money going to come from? It has to come from you. It's not going to come from the $5 you saved. I can guarantee you.
It's the classic line. Like if someone sees a boat or a super cruiser going past and they whisper to their friend, fuck, imagine how much it costs for the fuel for that thing. Don't even think about buying it. If a Lamborghini drives past and you whisper to your mate going, fuck, I wonder how much that is to insure it. Don't even think about buying it. Like it's peanuts compared to like when Tamara and I finish building our fucking McMansion down here. Have I thought about how much the insurance premium is going to be? Yeah, I've thought about it. And I'm like, but I don't give a fuck. Like, what am I going to do? Not insure it? It is what it is.
Comes with
all right, let's go with Shawnee Thomas here. Seen a few changes to rules around pets in rental properties in the news lately for Queensland only. Do we think it's good or it's bad? So I suppose this is basically saying, hey, there's going to be more authority basically for tenants to be able to have pets in your property. Do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing? I'll throw to, let's go to Dane.
I thought that was going to be on the cards. I don't know. So many years ago, Sean, please jump on Google, mate. I'm sure this will bring you a lot of joy tonight after this session. But there was a case, and it was a body corporate case where someone wanted to have a just like what Robbie's doing right now. With Hank, wanted to have a small dog in the apartment, but the body corp bylaws were preventing it. And anyway, this thing ended up in court, right? And the ruling was that the bylaws were directly hindering their welfare and happiness of the owner, blah, blah, blah. So and they won, so they got it. So I think it was always going to be something that would come on the cards with houses and stuff like that. And in the end, mate, a lot of people have dogs these days. Like, I'm not too sexed up about it. All it's going to do is widen your pool for people who want to rent your house. So they're still bound by, they still got the bond. You still have your insurances and all that sort of stuff. It's not like just because you have a dog and the dog tears up the gyp rock that's allowed. It still has to be returned in a great state and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really nonchalant, man, like with this sort of moving the way it is. And I thought it would probably have done that sooner than what it has. What about you guys? What do you reckon, Robbie?
This is a bit controversial, but I'm of the opinion that a couple of fucking 2 or 3 year old kids running around a house will do more damage to a house than what a fucking small little dog like that will do, who does zero damage to the house.
Yeah, with one of these, right?
Yeah. Or a fat marker. There you go.
Yes, that's right.
That's why they're on my desk, not with the kids.
So yeah, look, at the end of the day, Tamara and I would not be sitting in level 66 here in the Q1 if they didn't allow pets to be here. So it's an absolute no-brainer. Don't let people that have a pet, sort of be distracted as far as that goes. Did we have to put a reference in for our pet? Yes, we did. Did we have to sort of show them evidence that they're not going to fucking wreck the joint? Yes, we did. Do we have to sign a special clause in the lease that says if your pet wrecks the joint, you need to fucking replace it? Yes, we did. So the onus is on the pet owner, and you as the asset owner are fully insured from that, fully protected, I should say, from that sort of perspective. And oh, by the way, they've paid a bloody big bond, and they don't get their fucking bond back. And then the real estate agent chases them for any bloody costs that they need to be able to do to make the place back to original condition again. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's very extremely short-sighted for any property owner to put on their rental, instruct their property manager to say, I don't want pets. Because I assure you, you are cutting yourself off from a very large percentage of the market that could take extremely good care of your house and treat it like their own and never miss a fucking rent payment. And, that tenant longevity that we're all seeking could be coming your way just because they've got a little fucking dog. So, down to own it. 100%, Chris Williams. You've been around property a long
Pets
time,
considered on application, and then you can roll with it from there.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly right.
What about you, Dan?
Mate, I've never had an issue with pets. I think, like RT, you mentioned a couple of 2 and 3 year olds can terrorize a house more than a pet can. And fucking guess what? A pair of 22 and a 23-year-old can fucking terrorize a house better than a pet can too. I mean, at the end of the day, you're letting 22 and 23-year-olds living in a house, aren't you? At what point do you then go, that's my cutoff point? I think it's very, very hard to do that. And you have insurances and you have a bond and you have all of that shit in place. And guess what? Your property manager should be going out there and doing inspections every 3 months to have a look. Have a fucking look at this. The dog is tearing up the backyard pacing. Well, guess what, tenant? You're going to replace the turf before you leave. So, there's all these things that need to be put in place there from that perspective. And I mean, generally speaking, I've found people that can keep living things alive will probably be able to look after a fucking dead thing like your house. Like at the end of the day, if you can manage to feed and water a pet, then you're probably going to be able to look after a house as well. So
100%. Oh, that's good. There you go, mate. Sean, thanks so much for the message, mate. And I think Jane, you mentioned today that Sean wants to do a very, very nice gesture for the people that are building his house as well, mate. I've got to say, dude, I've never heard of that before. First thing that sprung to mind was, let me know when it's happening. I'll go out there myself and bloody say good day to the boys if I'm going to get a free round at the bloody fat truck when it comes around. But yeah, mate, a very, very nice gesture, and it's an awesome reflection, Sean, on how much you care and how much you're actually into this, mate, which is really, really, really cool. So I'm really, really looking forward to the amazing house that yourself and Court are going to do down the track, which is really cool. What else, boys? Over to you, team. We've still got about 15 minutes. We're here for you.
We haven't wrapped around on Dan, I don't think. What Dan's been up to?
About me? Well, mate, here's the fact, Dane. You've been swanning around working on reports. Robbie's been off drinking piss. So I've been speaking to all the clients.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it goes, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you fellas been fucking doing your thing. No, I literally have been. I've been head down, ass up. And I mean, Huey was on here before. I was speaking to one of his mates yesterday. Speaking to some great other clients on Monday night, some great referral clients this morning as well. So my days have literally just been back to back, speaking to, generally speaking, at this time of year, people who have been referred to us by some of their family and friends. So just sitting down with those guys for a couple of hours at a time, working through their problems, assessing their circumstances, so on and so forth. And probably one of my more favorite groups out of that, like I've had a couple of other people who I spoke to 2 and 3 years ago did their initial coaching sessions, right? And they've finally, all their circumstances are starting to align, and they're getting medically upgraded so they can go back to sea, and they've been posted to the right location, and the circumstances now start to come together for them. So we're pulling the trigger with those guys.
I saw their name on your list the other day and went, fuck, where do I know that name from? And then I went back and looked and I went, oh yeah, we met them a couple of years ago. Yeah, so that's really cool to hear.
Been bloody brilliant for that. But one of the most fun sessions I've had was the other week. And it's a bit disappointing that Cadsy had to leave a little bit earlier after he sort of mentioned that he didn't have such a stellar time with another organisation. But these young couple, they've started their property journey already, and they've got themselves into a pretty good place. But they also had gone and sort of reached out to another group to try to get some support from that perspective. And they sort of, when I had an initial conversation with these guys, they sort of said, yeah, look, we liked some of the stuff they did. We were going down this path, but something just didn't feel right. Like they just didn't feel they had that gut instinct, I suppose, that something wasn't quite right and their interests weren't being looked after. And I said to them, well, look, and this doesn't happen very often, so I kind of broke a business rule. Sorry, RT. I'm like, well, you've already had an experience and you haven't got what you were promised to get. You were promised something and you were let down and so on and so forth. So I sort of went out on a limb with those guys and spent a couple of hours with them on a coaching session that was free, a freebie. Come to me, let's talk about all your stuff. And we sat down and spoke to them.
Good on you,
and
man.
Probably
not know that.
Probably, yeah, you didn't know that. Sorry, not sorry.
Your time, brother. It's your time.
But I mean, it was one of those things. It was, I think we started about 7:30 at night, expecting it to go for an hour, just nice and tight, get the session done, basically give them a plan upgrade. We've gone for about 2 hours, and then we're like, and then you can do this and this and this, and just mapping out their entire lives. I'll tell you what, at the end of the session, it was the most satisfying thing when they just sat back and you could see the relief come back into their face, and they're like, fuck, that's how it's meant to be.
Someone cares about my circumstances enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's having that drive for that passion to make sure that everyone actually gets looked after the standard they're supposed to be. Like, because don't get me wrong, there's some other fucking punters out there that are having a crack and they're like, come and speak to us. We'll look after you guys. I understand defense. I've read the Pac-Man before. I know what HPAS stands for. I'm like, yeah, but it's not part of your DNA. You don't actually understand that person or where they come from in their background and culture unless you've lived it as well, right? So for me, it's been really great to get into the coaching saddle again and just weed out all the pretenders, mate. Because at the end of the day, there's a bunch of pretenders out there trying to do what we do, and they're not fucking doing what we do, despite what they try to promise people.
That was a great story, by the way, man. I did not know that. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. That sync matrix, Gantt chart, whatever you want to call it, on the 4th page of our property wealth action plan, is that the bit they liked the most, where they basically mapped out what was happening in their life and then what was happening with their property stuff underneath? Because at the end of the day, we all know using the property asset class suits the lifestyle we're trying to lead and or choices in the future.
They enjoyed that, but I think the thing that we spent the most time talking about was finances. It's always about finance and numbers.
No, right? That's fair enough.
Like if we wrap all the way back around to when we were talking about valuations, like these guys, as I said, they had a couple of properties under their belt, and they were looking at trying to, okay, well, we'd like to be able to use equity in there. But at the same time, they were nickel and diamond day. They were out there looking for the cheapest rate. And they're like, oh, but I can get it at 1.99 or I can get 2.19%, whatever the interest rate was from that perspective. And then they turn around and go, oh, but then we want to use the equity out of there. And we're kind of getting close to our borrowing capacity. I'm like, well, fuck, guys, what do you actually want? Do you want a nickel and dime for 0.03%, or do you want a valuation that gives you equity? Because you might not be able to have both of those things. So it's having those conversations to enlighten them, I suppose, that sometimes there's a payoff. Sometimes you can have valuations, or you can have equity, evaluations and equity, or you can have rates, or you can have the bank's policy
structure. Yeah.
You've got to be able to blend those three things together, which is what like a master broker should do as well when they're going through that, is talking about all those different elements. But at the end of the day, no one would really explain to them why fixing a loan at 2.19%, hoping that you're going to get a good valuation later on to grab equity out of it, wasn't a good idea. At the end of the day, they could have been chopped off at the knees and said, hey, you know how you want to go and get that property? Can't do it anymore. You don't have equity. And it would have just kiboshed the entire plan from that perspective. So it was one of those sessions that they were enlightened, especially around all of those different elements of the finances, I suppose, from a holistic perspective.
What's their status now, mate? I hope everyone's asking the same question. So where are they at now, please, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm committing another cardinal sin. So these guys they need to realize how many cardinal sins I'm breaking. I'm speaking to them again on Friday afternoon, mate.
Oh, Friday afternoon.
I told you, it's my card. Like a real. Ladies and gents, I give Dane and Robbie shit continually when they book a session on a Friday afternoon. I'm like, it's after 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, boys. Tools down, close out everything for the afternoon. The weekend is coming. Start afresh on Monday. But yeah, I'm doing some dirty cardinal sins on Friday afternoon, speaking to those guys. And then I'm also speaking to people on Friday night as well. So, yeah.
That one's not free, is it, as well?
No.
Kaz is back. He's finished reading the bloody the Enchanted Forest. Mate, what you're demonstrating to me, because I'm hearing this for the first time as well, true story, ladies and gents, what you're demonstrating to everyone else, and we're now putting this on our Facebook page. It'll be there for fucking ever until Zuck decides to take it down one day. That's Mark Zuckerberg, by the way.
Your best mate, Zuck, yeah.
Zuck.
There you go, Scotty B. You're not the cardinal sin, mate, but I am.
No. I was going to say, yes, thank you.
No, Scotty B. I am speaking to on Friday night. He's my man.
All right, good man. But it demonstrates, and as the saying goes, people should be judged by their actions, not their words. It demonstrates how much you care about this other couple. Fucking good on you, man. That has made my night with 8.5 minutes to go of this session. It's certainly made my night, man, that you are willing to commit and turn the ship around for free to a certain point. That at least put a plan together.
Yes, mate. Feedback received to a
surety and clarity. I thought you were going to say, and another cardinal sin is that they don't have to pay their success package free.
Yeah. Oh man, I was like, where's it going to stop?
It stopped, mate. They're all good. No,
I know.
They're fine. How's Angie Paradise? She's certainly topping us up there on the pet stuff. You can seek pet references from the tenant's previous agents. Tenants are responsible for maintaining and fix any issues caused by their pets, so routine inspections are key along with insurances too. There you go.
Yes.
Katsy, billable hours, mate. This is my billable hours, mate. I hang out on Facebook at night, just chilling.
You know what? It's actually really cool that we're not like a solicitor. Like every time you ring the solicitor, they bloody start the little stopwatch in 6-minute increments, and it's a couple of $100 every time. So no, it's fucking really cool that we're doing that. I sat with the lovely Dave and Ingrid, Dan, as you know, down in Canberra. Yeah. One of Axon's first clients back in the day, probably first 10 or 15 clients, I should say. Lovely. And he goes, mate, it's been like 3 years since we spoke. He goes, how much do I owe you for the coaching session? I'm like, for what? You can put $300 in my bank account, or I can fucking spend 2 hours with you. Give your fucking kids $300, mate. I don't want you $300. Like, I want to make sure that the work you did with us a few years ago is now consolidated, and you've got a vision and clarity from a plan moving forward. He's just like, oh, fuck, you're a good bloke. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a good bloke, mate. I'm not a solicitor. I've got billable hours. I'm the business owner. If I choose to spend my time with you on a Tuesday afternoon, in between you getting home as a firefighter and then before you, buddy, swinging a gear with your missus and your kids or whatever, that's up to me, mate. So yeah, you're right, Dan. It is a fucking good feeling when you give away your time for free in the name of helping people because you know it's genuine.
Yeah. So, I mean, Kadsy, all those years ago, mate, when I worked for you up in Darwin, I wasted way more billable hours working for you than I do these days. And I tell you what, there was some sore and sorry days after the spending a couple of nightclub hours at Monsoons until fucking stupid AM and then turning up to work the next day. Put it that way.
I still love it. Hey, Brett Duggan, good, mate. Thank you so much for listening in there, brother. I have not forgotten about you and Leslie, far from it. So we should actually catch up soon in the new year. I think that's what it was planned for anyway. As we look forward to our second property, the valuation has been a hot topic, mate. Yeah, so, put it this way, mate. We're not getting properties, for the new properties for sale in your region. We are scrambling to get, in your estate, to get anything under 5, 20, 30, 40 at the moment, at best. We're actually waiting for another land release, and we're hoping they're only that cheap. Otherwise, it fucking blows a few people out of the water very quickly. So I guess, that's what's going on from a finance perspective. But I guess in closing, fellas, one of the other hot topics that came up this week was there was one master plan community that we've had a lot of clients be able to get blocks with that had a land release on the weekend. And it's pretty well known that generally developers are about 6 months ahead of the game. They're releasing blocks for sale as Christy comes and joins us. Christy, go back and watch the start, mate. We've covered off some ripper stuff tonight. And I'm looking forward to seeing you up here on the Gold Coast again come Christmas time. They're generally about 6 months ahead of the game, which is good. You can drop. They're doing pre-sales. You can drop an EOI down on a block of land, secure it at today's prices. Fast forward a couple of months, get a build contract together, boom, get your finance approved. Happy days. Then it went to 9 months. Then it went to 10 months. Then it went to 12. Then it went now it's out to 12 months. In fact, one of the developments, as you guys saw, they took EOIs over the weekend, and the land doesn't register until January. But the window of, ladies and gents, the 6-month window of, get this, January 23 to June 23. So that's like between 14 and 20 months away is when you could potentially even start your build.
Yeah.
Now, this is a location that's gone up in value $100,000 at least in the last 12 months. So those clients, 7 of our clients that were able to find it, put an EOI down on the weekend just gone, they are so fucking happy that if that trend continues, noting they've got a minimum of 14 months before they even start the build, how much equity are they going to have in their property by the time it's finished being built? Like, it's just so good, AB Robbo, as you go like that, brother. You know exactly what I'm talking about because you were one of them. So it's just such a good news story that, that we're able to mentor and coach and guide our clients to have that happen. But it's a very interesting space right now that, and Brett Duggan, you reminded me to say this actually. We don't need to wait, of course, until you and Leslie are ready to go because we're probably at the minimum, we're on a 6-month rolling program. It's probably more like 12 months. So that thing about do a detailed plan and plan early has never been more relevant in today's space whereby the developers literally can't fucking make the land fast enough. So it's really, really important, ladies and gents, if you are if you get that little twinkle in your eye, no, not to have another kid. If you get a little twinkle in your eye to fucking have another property and you think around about 12 months time is when you think you might sort of want to get the ball rolling, it's actually going to be 2 years down the track until you get your ball rolling. You should get in touch with your coach sooner rather than later, so we can actually put that strategy and give you guys the clarity moving forward. Dane, comments on that, mate, please.
Yeah, man. I guess it's always a bit sort of probably one of the best fucking strategies you can do. Like, let's be honest, the buying time strategy. So Dan and I are talking about another estate that hopefully is releasing at the end of this month. And Dan, I will go on let's just throw an EOI in, man, because it's not registered in 12 months. Yeah, the two of us, and then we can just sit there at zero risk for the next 12 months. And then once we get to the end, if we're like, hey man, there's 100 G's in this, we'll go, okay, we'll take that. But if we get there and something went the other way, we'll just be like, all right, refundable EOI, thank you. It's kind of like
EOI, get your bloody deposit back.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and it's one of the best. So when you go and buy an existing property, because I always try and compare it to that when I talk to people, I say your shit needs to be together straight away. So if you come into me and say, hey, look, yeah, we're not quite there for savings and stuff like that, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? You can get a brand new land and build. And if it registers 6 months' time, we can go through and nail off the last bits of your saving, get your shit together, and you're benefiting from the market. Because if you want to go get an existing property, 7 days building and pest, 21 days finance, 30 days, it's fucking yours. So if you don't have very much room in that 1 month to tick off all those things, so a lot of the time they're like, oh, fuck that. I'm like, exactly. Why would you want to go and do that? So I have a fair few sort of clients that are, sort of just nailing off the back end of their savings who have done that. It's fucking awesome, mate.
Thanks.
It's
Chris.
like low-hanging fruit. I'll put it that way. It's low-hanging fruit.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's actually a very, very perfect strategy for a lot of people. What about you, Dan? You've been you've been the one pioneering this for Axon over the last 18 months, really.
Yeah, mate. To be perfectly honest, I think January 2023 at the moment, it's the norm in Victoria, it's the norm in New South Wales. Guess what? It's the norm in Queensland.
It is now. Yeah.
That's I think it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, people were doing the same thing down in Victoria as you see them doing up here in Queensland now, sleeping out overnight, waiting for the land ballot the next morning. You put your hand in the hat and you pull a card out, and that was your lot number. if you didn't like the shape or the fucking color of that lot, guess what? You didn't get it.
Yeah.
So you went to the back of the line and you came back next month and you hope that the number that you pulled out was better the next time around. So fortunately, it hasn't got to that point up here in Queensland yet, but I certainly think that timeline, I think, is going to become a bit of a new norm, especially for the next 12 months to 18 months from that perspective. And I think we'll start to see a bit of a change in the garden, just how things operate up here in Queensland as well. We've had a really good run for a really long time. So get him what you can, because those favourable terms will only be here until they're not. So
don't get me wrong, ladies and gents, there are some developers that hold off releasing the blocks to market until 3 or 4, 5, 6 months down the track. Not everyone's on a 12 or 13-month timeline. I'm just giving you an indication as far as a bit of a right shoulder, but generally it's about 6 months down the track. So there you go. Fellas, noting so the joke I said to you two when we very first started, I'm like, I actually don't know what we're going to fucking talk about tonight. And I think both of you said that's because you haven't done anything over the last fortnight or not, and then started laughing. And by the way, for the record, this did not get fucking knocked over at all. So for everyone that said that I do my best work in 2 minutes, see you later. Have a great night.